I am on the bench with some Funhouse boards that I have rehabilitated. Here's the CPU board, and I've updated the ROM to the home use, the home model, I guess, ROM. This had an older ROM in it, which was only a 1 meg ROM. 905 is a 4 meg ROM, so I had to move jumper W1 into place from W2 to W1. I've installed NVRAM. I've installed a 4.27 DC voltage watchdog, replaced C31 and J210. Somebody had already replaced this ULN 2803 at U20, and they did not use a socket. That is unfortunate. Sometimes I'll socket those for the client, but since that chip's already had some heat applied to it, I am not going to do it on this one. I have clipped W15 through 18. That configures the CPU board for USA 2, which is universal. On the driver board, I have replaced C5, C4, C2, the power out header, all three GI headers, the AC voltage in, and the 4-pin header at the top is a ground connection, sometimes used in games. And I've replaced the unregulated 12-volt power in. And up here on the soundboard, that was the most fun. I got to replace the U18 ROM so that it now has the home ROM. I'm not sure what the difference is between this one, but if you use version 905 on the CPU, you should use this version of U18. Replaced all those 47 microfarad caps, the two big 4700. There's a big fat tantalum cap in there I replaced. There's a 22 microfarad vertical cap that I've replaced, and the 100 microfarad power filter input. And you're seeing this being tested for the first time on the bench. You will see this note since it's not in an actual Funhouse game. And we don't have any optos, so this is normal. All right. We'll test the switches first, and here are the coin door, the coin door switches. And switch matrix switches going across the diagonal. Funhouse does not use column 8, but we can demonstrate row 8. So that is good to go. Let me do 77. In fact, it doesn't use switch 78. Interesting. Okay. So the switches are working on the CPU, which is super nice. Solenoid test. Looked like solenoid 2 there was on for an extended duration. And I'll wait for that to come around again, and we'll see what solenoid 2 is. It's a ramp diverter, so the software turns that on for a longer time, so you can actually see that ramp diverter move. Let's flip over to general illumination. Wow, the software was interpreting these keystrokes a lot faster than later games. I'll come back to sound and music. We'll do lamps and flashers. Here's the flash lamp circuits all operating correctly. And our lamp matrix is operational. Let's do sound and music. Prepare to be insulted.
We were pals. Get yourself a hot dog, you big sausage.
That you big sausage, that may be one of the new sounds that's in ROM 18, but I'd have to reference the version description document to tell that. Let's check the voltages here. The 5 volts is at 4.87, regulated 12 at 11.8, which is fine. Unregulated 12 at nearly 15 and fine, and that is flash lamp and coil voltage. One of the common things that we see with WPC games is the coil voltage is always about 70 volts. Here it's 72, that's just fine. That confuses people because it clearly says 50 volts here on the silk screen and in the schematics. But I can tell you with absolute certainty, WPC games are always at 70 volts. Now I don't, if this is my power driver board, I'd leave it alone, but that 4.87, since the board is here and I'm going to be mailing it back to the client, I'm going to replace the venerable old LM323K with one of these, which is a EZ SBC 5-volt regulator, direct drop-in replacement for the LM323K. Interesting, the guy who makes these things at EZ SBC contacted me the other day and says, hey, do you know about these things? I can send you some for free if you'd like to try them out. And I sent him back, yeah, I know about them. I use them all the time. I had one dead out of the box, but other than that, they've all been good. And I never heard another word from him. I thought he might send me one to replace the dead out of the box one, but no go. Last thing I'll note is this display is one that I put together from a kit that Victor constructed or put together. And I made this originally for my Funhouse because I think this blue looked beautiful. The video's not really showing how rich the blue color is, but eventually this will go into my Funhouse when my plasma display finally gives up the ghost. So let me get over to the bench and replace this LM323K, and we'll call this board set good. I have installed the EZ SBC 5-volt regulator, and I've tuned it up to 5.10 volts. That is a nice, healthy voltage. When the regulator becomes loaded in the client's game, there's going to be some loss across these connectors, in the female side of these connectors in all likelihood. So 5.1 is a good, comfortable voltage to put it at. When I installed these EZ SBCs, I always leave I generally leave the heat sink, and just in case there's any reason to go back to the LM323K. It doesn't hurt to leave it there. I had purchased a bunch of these 632, I guess they're called spacers. They're 632 by, I think, a ½ inch or so. And the reason I use those in some of these installations is because if you use a 632 locking, what do you call it, star washer nut, as was on this board originally, that nut will bridge between the ground trace on the EZ SBC and an adjacent trace on one of these sides. I can't see it through the camera, but oh, it's the top side over here at least. And we don't want that to happen, so I like these spacers. They stay within their physical boundaries as they should. They do the job, of course, same job as a nut, and it's really easy to get a 1/4 inch drive, hex driver on top of those things. So we are good to go. Booted it up just one more time. Lamp matrix is active. So thank you so much for sending this board set.